All right, Eli, today we have a special treat for you. This is something that when we go to your great grandparents' house, Poppy and Nicey, they would make for Christmas, they would make a dirty rice. It's sausage, mushrooms, cheese, and some long grain rice, some wild long grain rice. And this is a special treat because this is what Nicey always makes for us. And she finished up her radiation and chemo treatments. So no more of that, and hopefully she'll be better by Thanksgiving so she can eat some really good food then, and maybe even make this. So we're making this for Nicey. All right, this first thing you gotta do is you gotta put on put the rice on to cook. Just follow the instructions on the box. It's the Uncle Ben's long grain wild rice original recipe, and you can use, they do a 5-minute version, but I do the regular version that takes 20 minutes to cook. Put this on, bring it to a boil, cover it, and then you cook for 20 minutes. All right, Eli, while we're cooking the rice, we'll go ahead and brown up the sausage and also cook the onions. So you can easily double this recipe by just doubling everything and putting it in a 9x13 pan instead of like an 8x8 or a 9x9. I actually have an 8x11 pan that I'm using today. But when I double it, I usually do 1 thing of hot sausage and 1 thing of sage, but we only are doing 1 helping, so I'm just going to do 1 thing of sage. And I'm adding some red pepper flakes a little bit later. Okay. Start this up. Okay, we're just going to brown the sausage until it's brown, and go ahead and get the rice cooking. All right, Eli, the sausage is almost brown. I'm going to kind of move it over, and I'm going to go ahead and add the onions in. I use the small sweet onion. Usually I use 1 onion for when I do 2 batches of it, but there's a little bit more onion. You can use half an onion if you want to. And we're going to saute the onions a little bit, but we're also cooking it in the oven for about 30 minutes, so the onions will get cooked well. All right, Eli, the rice is finished cooking. We'll go ahead and cut it off, uncover it, and let it stand for a minute. And we have browned the meat, the sausage, and the onions. And I'm going to go ahead and put in the spice. I'm going to put it into the with the sausage and onions. It's half a teaspoon each of red pepper flakes, black pepper, salt, and garlic powder. And then I'll put it in there. And we'll stir that up. I don't know if it makes a difference if you put the, I put some stuff in with the rice. I put all the spices in with the sausage just because there's a lot of fat in here, and I figure it'll, the spices will taste better if it gets mixed in with that fat. All right. Our rice looks good. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and put the, I'm going to put the mushrooms in. I use a whole can of mushrooms that I put in with the casserole. If you don't want a lot of mushrooms, you can just use the cream mushroom soup with no extra mushrooms. Cream of mushroom soup in. And it makes it real easy to double this recipe. You just use 2 things of sausage, 2 cans of soup, and 2 boxes of the rice instead of 1. Mix this up good. What we're going to do now is I'm just going to mix it all in a bowl. Sometimes I've got a big enough skillet, I can just mix it in the skillet, but we use the cast iron this time. Okay, we mix the sausage, mushrooms, and then the rice and cream mushroom soup. And then we mix it up, and we also mix in some cheese. And I use the, I try to get the thicker cut of cheese, so it just doesn't, the really fine cheese, it just kind of melts and disappears into it. I kind of like it not to all melt until you put it in the oven. And that's 2 cups of cheese. I don't usually use all of the 2 cups, but I come close to using it all. It's just however much you want in there. And this is the cheddar jack cheese. Yeah, almost. Probably used a little over a cup and a half of cheese. And then I've greased the pan. Normally I use a 9x9 for 1 batch, but we actually got new baking dishes and we only have an 8.5x11. That's the smallest one we have now. We'll put in there. And this recipe is really good. My dad and Nicey would make this for breakfast, but I've made it, it's good on like Christmas Day with your lunch, or if you're, or Thanksgiving. It's really good as a side dish for Thanksgiving. So then you put it in the casserole dish. And then I bake it in the oven for about 30 minutes at 350 degrees. And and then we'll see you in a minute when it's done. All right, Eli, we're back. It's finished cooking. If you look, it's usually, I cooked it about 35 minutes. You can see it's bubbling around the edges, and you can see it's been bubbling in the middle. That's usually when I take it out of the oven during that time. So, I'll get some and try some. It's gonna be super hot. You may have to wait a minute. Yeah, it's hot. It smells really good. It smells like sausage and cheese. Yeah, it's really good. It's got the extra mushrooms in it, make it good. It gives it a different texture. And I know you don't eat rice or sausage. So you probably won't like this yet, but one day you will. So anyway, I hope you enjoy this recipe, Eli, and I love you and miss you, and I'll see you soon. And JoJo can tell you.
Bye, Elisha. JoJo loves you.